Alright, I am back taking a look at more Star Wars The Vintage Collection. Last video, I took a look at PAZ VIZSLA, which was one of my favorite characters in Star Wars, and probably one of my favorite figures that we've had in the Vintage Collection. But this time, I thought it'd be a good idea to take a look at his descendant, PAZ VIZSLA. This is from The Mandalorian. This figure did come out as a deluxe release because he comes with a big weapon, I guess. And he comes with a few accessories, but for the most part, all you're really getting here is a figure, his jetpack, and his weapon, which, as far as I'm concerned, comparing it to other normal Vintage Collection figures, is like pretty average. I don't know why they think it's necessary to charge like 10 extra bucks, really more than that, just because they throw a few extra accessories in there, because you're gonna have to pay $30 if you want this guy at full retail price. I know he's gone on sale a few times on Amazon, that's how I got him, but $30 for this and some blast effects is kind of crazy. And of course they had to give us that deluxe packaging as well, just to make it even more expensive. It's just a cardboard box with the figure printed on there, no image from the show or anything like that. It is just toy photography, basically. You get to see everything that comes in the figure at the back. It's a decent looking package. I have always liked these deluxe packages, but they're just not that interesting, and they're not worth the price, that's for sure. Tackling the articulation, you can go down, up, side to side, pretty decent head articulation. The shoulders are okay, not great. Elbows go that high. You get a little bit on the wrists, in and out. So the torso articulation is actually pretty good. You get to go back that far if you take his jetpack off. Forward a little bit, but side to side is pretty good. I do want to go ahead and point out that I don't like how stocky they made the figure look. I understand that the character on screen is a bit larger. He has bigger armor. He's definitely not like a skinny guy. Not trying to call him fat, but it does seem like on this figure his legs are a bit too long compared to his body, or maybe his body is too short. Maybe you don't see it, but I see like some weird disproportionate stuff going on there. As far as the hips go, you get ball joints in there. They go out a decent amount. You do have a thigh swivel. Knees go back a little over 90 degrees. Maybe more. I'm gonna break the peg out of there if I go any further. Ankle articulation is okay. These armor pieces on top actually don't hinder it too much because they kind of flap around. So there's decent ankle articulation. There is a side to side on those, which is nice. And that's it for articulation. So I think for a Vintage Collection figure, it's still a good looking figure, don't get me wrong, but I do think that it could have benefited from a wash. I think all of the colors on here look a bit too bright compared to what we see on screen. Obviously the lighting, especially when we saw PAZ VIZSLA for the first few times, the lighting was really dark. And so his colors probably appear to be very muted on his armor, and I just think that looks better. I think here it looks too cartoonish, you know, like something out of the Clone Wars, I don't know. And so I just feel like he could have looked better with a wash, or maybe with slightly darker colors, especially when you look at his gray undersuit, which has no extra like shading or other paint apps. It's just gray plastic, and then comparing that to the rest of the armor, which has dings and scratches and stuff like that, it looks very obviously like a toy. And I think for, you know, what you're paying for, which is like 30 bucks, I think we should have a better looking figure here. I think the sculpting is nice. Of course, once again, there is that issue that I had with the chest. I don't even think it's like he's too stocky. I just think the torso area is too short. But I think the rest of the sculpting and proportions look pretty good. One more issue I do have with that is with the head. You don't get a removable helmet on this guy. It's just the helmet as the head. And there's nothing underneath there, but it just looks a little bit weird when you have him looking up or kind of looking to the side, where you could clearly see that there's no head there. And for a figure at this scale, I don't think it's that big a deal, but it looks a little bit goofy, you know, like that looks a little bit silly. Once again, for 30 bucks, I do think the helmet itself looks pretty good though. I think the paint apps are all really nice on there. Nothing really bad I have to say about the execution of the paint apps, just wish there was more. And of course on the back, there's absolutely no continuation of that weathering, which is fantastic. And for accessories, you do have the jetpack. It can go in the peg hole on the back. It looks okay. You know, I think he has a cool looking jetpack just with the colors and the way it looks. It's like a like some sort of construction vehicle, and I think that looks cool. You can attach his minigun on the rocket pack, just like right at the bottom in the centerpiece right there. And if you don't want him to hold it, you can peg it in. There should be a peg somewhere on the gun, and you can attach it to the jetpack, so you're not having to have him hold it at all times, which I think is really cool. I really like it when figures have that feature. Of course, with miniguns, it really sucks trying to get the figure to hold it properly. I think he's supposed to hold this back handle and then bring it around, and he holds that part. I don't know. I get what, like, he's supposed to hold it that way probably, but I just thought it was way easier for him to hold it at this handle right here, which is probably not supposed to do, but I think it looks better, and so that's what I'm going to have him doing. And I'm just going to leave the gun alone for now because it's just getting in the way. There is a blast effect for the gun. You could just tab it in. There's a peg hole at the end. And I think this looks good for what it is. And you also get two more. They are different sculpts, and they get to tab into the jets on the booster pack right there, so he can look like he's flying. You also have this really cool shield piece, which can tab into his gauntlet, and we haven't really seen that on a Mandalorian figure yet. A few of the Mandalorian characters will have those gauntlet shields. I think Bo-Katan has that. So that's a really cool feature. One of the first times we're getting that. And you can see it's just a transparent blue piece. And finally, we do have a knife. There's a little sheath for it on his boot right there. It just slides right in. And he did use this a couple times in the show, so it's cool that we have that. And so that about does it for this figure. There's really not too much else to cover when it comes to the figure itself. I think PAZ VIZSLA as a character, he was cool. Of course, in Mandalorian Season 3, it got kind of muddied. I don't know why they had to throw in his son randomly there. I think it was kind of weird. It didn't really make sense. But at the end of the day, he's just another pretty cool looking Mandalorian made for toys. So I try not to think too deeply about it. And I think Hasbro succeeded here. It's a cool action figure. It just isn't enough for how much it costs. And so I am slightly disappointed in it. I would say I probably like the Black Series version better. Anyways, that's about all I have to say about it. As always, I hope y'all enjoyed, and I will catch you in the next one.